Hello, 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 boys and girls. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. I am Dhosea 101, back after a 2 week absence. With me is Gary and Zamario, and we're here to break down The Last of Us, episode 8. We got one episode left, guys. Woo! All right. Man, this show, man, what can I say about it? Huh. Dude, they are nailing it out of the park. These guys do not disappoint. But what do you guys think about this week's episode before we break it down? Gary?
Yes.
I thought, because the last couple of episodes have been I thought they were really good. This one, I thought was really good as well. Because it starts off with in this almost religious commune that you have going on. And then you kind of see more information about it and realize it isn't as holy as it was to portray it. It's kind of gets picked apart by the people who are in it. So it's one of those things where it's kind of it kind of made you uncomfortable for a lot of reasons that we'll get into later on. But I thought it was probably one of the creepier episode, and it didn't have a single zombie in it. So that's the way I would describe it.
Yeah, good point. I think this is the only episode thus far where there's been no infected whatsoever. I don't think they had a single infected in this one. Zam?
Yeah, excellent episode as well. This was portraying more of the DLC, I believe.
Actually, no, this is the base game. Last week's episode was the DLC. Yeah, now they're back in the base game.
Phenomenal acting performance by
Bella Ramsey.
Bella Ramsey. Yeah, sorry, her name does escape me sometimes. I mean, this girl has got everything it needs to be one of the greatest actresses of all time. She could be the new Meryl Streep. I swear to fucking God, she's that good. That good. She's just in this episode alone, the sort of the ups and downs she was portraying. Superb, and I can't wait to talk about all the little bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Hello to you, Daniel Vance.
Hello. All right, so here we go. Recap time, boys and girls. We hear David. Before we see him, he's preaching to appears to be his followers. You get a better look at the town that they reside in. It looks kind of like Jackson, but there's a steakhouse and other buildings around it, and it's a lot less friendly, like Gary just said. It's like that cult atmosphere. It's like these religious nuts. That's kind of what that reminded me of, is like people that are overly religious and wild and crazy. And, you would think David would be like a monstrous looking human, but he just looks fucking weird. And I thought the guy that played as David in this episode, I thought that he really knocked it out of the park. And basically what happens is that they're eulogizing a lady's father, like, when are we going to bury him? And it turns out that they can't bury him yet because it's too damn cold, so they got to bury him in the spring. And this cameo popped me. We got to see Troy Baker, video game Joel, in this episode, which I thought was very fantastic. I'm glad that they brought him in. I'm glad that they got Troy Baker in the series, because it wouldn't be right without him. And I don't think we've seen Ashley Johnson yet, have we?
I think she'll be in next week.
She might be in next week, yeah, because I know she's supposed to be in one of the episodes.
That was a bit of a spoiler by me, but she's definitely in next week.
Okay.
I'd rather face 10 infected than to have
spend time with one religious fanatic. Yeah. Yep.
As somebody who's not religious, I exactly know what you mean. Sorry, Bossman, what were you saying?
Yeah, because the thing is that as somebody who is religious, the thing is that you took the Book of Revelation and totally misunderstood it. But I think it's as it comes on, you kind of find out that kind of. Just again, I don't want to start messing around with the timeline, but that more comes out. I was like, this is a bit of a weird reading on the Book of Revelation. That you realize that these people are a bit weird.
Yeah.
Just in relation, I totally agree with you, Jose. The casting for this guy, because he doesn't look like an imposing. He's not like an imposing guy. He's not like I'm trying to think. He's not like Milolisky, or he's not like I'm trying to think of another fellow like I do even see like Bill in the previous. He's not an imposing fellow, but there's something about him that's kind of like Charles Manson like.
Yeah, there's something off-putting about him and creepy. Yep.
Because I mean, I know we're gonna talk way ahead, but you like he's the sort of person within religious institutions who want to have control.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about. And he obviously mentioned. I know I'm jumping ahead, but he does mention later on, what he really truly believes in, which is the cordyceps. But he's just being this preacher in a way to basically take over the village and take over the people and run them, which is what he wants to do. But he's a nonce, he's all of these things. And so, and unfortunately, within organized religion, they have a lot of people like this who are disingenuous, who just want to control other people and take their fucking money, take their fucking resources. And a lot of religious people fall for this shit.
Yep,
So,
and that's one of the reasons why I'm not a member of a church. I'm like, yeah, I worship God my own way, but I'm not. No, there was no clicker on clicker action this week. That is a disappointment. But yeah,
there was a lot of
I do agree.
Cannibal nonces instead, Ginger Greek. It was a nice alternative.
I mean, the thing is that, as I said, again, like I was like really on the edge because the fact that this guy is threatening the whole time, because the way he speaks is kind of like I'm trying to find a way to describe it. It's almost unearthly.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean that as a slag off to the actor who does it. No, it's actually a praise because I was on edge. I was like, good, because I was like, it was almost like a clicker thing where like the way that this guy was like saying stuff.
Yep.
Well, you heard that clicker noise when Ellie was like fucking hunting and stuff. Like, is that a clicker or is that a deer? You can't even fucking tell what.
You can't tell. Yep. But okay, then this brings us back to basically what happens is Joel or Joel. Why do I call him Joel? James, Troy Baker's character, and David decide to go off hunting, and it brings us back to Ellie, who is in the basement still trying to nurse Joel back to health. His wound has been sewn up, but he still needs to like drink and have all the medicine and antibiotics and all that kind of shit just to try to stay alive. And so Ellie goes out hunting and she fails to shoot a rabbit, catches a deer, shoots it, but it doesn't immediately collapse and die. It runs right off into the direction of James and David. And what happens is basically Ellie shows up and she's like, you two motherfuckers don't do shit. Don't make any sudden moves. Otherwise, I'm going to put one right between your eyes. Ellie is hardcore. She doesn't play around. Yeah, when you're starving, you don't ask what kind of meat it is unless you're worried about what kind of meat it is. Yeah, good point.
It's in a bit. Sorry, I'm just going to
I'll save that. Yeah, here. I'll save my thoughts on that here in a little bit. But yeah, they're about to get ready to haul the deer away, and Ellie comes out of the woods with the gun aimed at their heads. And I was watching on HBO, like when they wrapped this episode up, they were talking about it was February and they were in Canada and it was cold as shit. And they had to film that scene, and it took Ellie a while to have to hold that rifle because that thing is not an easy thing to have to hold that steady for that long.
So why they just didn't give her like a lightweight prop? It would have been just a lot easier than. I mean, I'm sure it's not a gun that could fire, but a replica like that, it would have been a prop. Would have been just something a lot more simpler, or even just to have a handgun. You know what I mean? Because she has a handgun, as well, because we saw her use it later in the episode. But one thing. Daniel Vance also says I would have dropped David where he
stood the moment that he hit that girl. Yeah, we're gonna get to that in a minute. We're gonna get to that in a second, though. But yeah, okay. So Ellie tries to scare both David and James away, but David is determined to take the deer. He's like, "Okay, what do you need?" And then she's like, "I need medicine to help heal Joel's infection." He says that he's got it, but it's back in their village. Ellie makes them the offer they can't refuse. James will go get the medicine, and when he gets back, they get half the deer. David agrees to the terms and sends James off to go get some penicillin, ironically made from fungus for Ellie. And James is off grabbing the medicine. Ellie and David relocate with the deer to an abandoned house nearby to start a fire to keep warm while they wait. And David finds out who Ellie and Joel actually are, and this is where you start to see, like Bossman just said, that real menacing side of this motherfucker. And I legitimately hated him. The guy that portrayed him did such a good job that I'm like, I fucking hate this guy.
Yeah, because the thing is like everything we're about to say is actually commending this guy's performance, because I thought this was the performance of
the show.
Episode, not the show, but this episode. Because I thought this guy. I mean, like, because the thing is that he's not very strongly spoken. He's not like somebody with a great bass in his voice. He does, but there's something about the way he speaks and the kind
it's
of
his presence.
the melodic. It's almost I kind of want to say his tone's like melodic, guys.
His tone and overall presence is just very menacing, and you're just like, this dude just fucking nailed it in this episode. So the guy that played David is my MVP of the episode. But as
really,
David,
I still give it to Bella Ramsey personally.
Yeah, she killed it too.
No, Bella Ramsey was great. I'm not
I think the way she portrayed her, like her shock value and almost being R-worded and all of that sort of stuff. It was very uncomfortable scenes.
Yeah,
all of that, and the way she killed him and everything. I know I'm jumping ahead. I'm sorry, but
to
talk about the performance. I mean, I thought it was great. But going back to that moment there, we find out that Joel killed one of those 4 guys we saw at the university. Joel, the person Joel killed, was part of that group that David is the leader of, and so certain things are coming to a head now because of that. I mean, he was a father himself apparently, and and they ate him. They ate the guy.
Yep. But all right, David explains how his group came to be. He also shares his theory about how everything happens for a reason. If your sinister vibes are going up, then you know that shit's about to get very real in this bitch. As an example, David tells Ellie how he sent 4 of his guys to come back, like Zam just said. Only 3 of them came back. 1 was killed by another man traveling with a young girl. And it turns out that the man that Joel killed at the university was David's follower and the father of the girl crying in the beginning of the episode, like Zam just said. And it's at this very tense moment that James comes back with the medicine, gun aimed at Ellie's head, and he's like, dude, lower the gun, give her the medicine. And then she gets the fuck out of there, which is the right thing to do. I wouldn't have said shit. I would have just been gone. So basically, shit's about to get really, really real in this bitch. And over at David's Weird Village, the group is cooking up some dinner with meat that does not look like any regular animal meat. Hint, hint.
Well,
go ahead.
You would have thought it was the deer that they brought back, but then you find out after that scene they bring back the deer. So what is it? I mean,
it's about to get real in this bitch. But over at David's, go ahead.
No
apocalypse movie is right without having some fucking cannibals.
But the thing is, with these cannibals are not kind of like. Not like like really evil. They just do what they need to do to survive. Or do something like that.
I think majority of the people don't know that they're eating daddy. You know what I mean? So one of their members, it's kept it's kept away from them. Only a handful of people know.
Yeah. Okay, so over at David's Weird Village, the group is cooking up some dinner with meat that does not look like any regular meat. The man says it is venison, but you don't believe that bullshit. As the group prepares to eat, David and James return from their encounter with the deer in tow, and David will be like, all right, you motherfuckers are going to go out in the morning, and you're going to go find this girl. It's too damn dark right now, but she's not that far. You guys will find her, and you will do what you have to do. Hours later, Ellie spots a group of David's men coming her way.
Before you go there, it's just like when they're having their dinner, that girl wants vengeance, but you can see, like, for the person killing killing her father, but there's a sinister smile that comes across David's face because he's got a bigger portion of food than everyone else for a start. And then everyone else, they're so hungry, they're happy to get.
And this recap didn't even mention the fact that this is the part where he smacks the shit out of her, like James smacks the shit out of that lady. That does not get mentioned in my recap.
I think it happens a little bit later, but
it does happen.
But they're eating their food really quickly. He's eating his food really slowly, but he's got a sinister smile on his face because that girl wants vengeance against the man who killed her father.
Yep.
While she's eating her fucking father, and she doesn't even know that, and that's why he's laughing to himself and smiling to himself, because he's feeding his the widow and the daughter, their family member right now. It's fucked up. It really is.
Yeah. As I said, this guy's face. As I said, it's emotive without even being emotive, and it's really hard to explain. It's almost like I kind of liken him to like Adam Driver.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I actually wish I have a shower after watching this.
Okay, so basically what happens is hours later, Ellie spots a group of David's men coming her way. Frantically, Ellie's like, all right, Joel, get the fuck up. We got to go. We got to get the fuck out of here. And she's like, all right, well, stay there, but do not fall asleep. And unfortunately, she only gets a little ways away with the horse. The horse dies, R.I.P. Ellie goes tumbling to the ground. David and the men take her while she's unconscious back to the village, while the other two go searching for Joel. And one of David's men makes the way into the house where Joel's recovering. Unfortunately for him, Joel is getting his strength back. He woke the fuck up, and Joel's like, all right, this motherfucker got to go. And he does.
Before all of that, sorry, like when she's adding the penicillin, she has no idea
what she's doing. It. Nope.
Yeah, and I only recently, look, I'm no doctor or scientist myself either. I found that, when you're supposed to take penicillin injections, you're supposed to stick it in your arse cheek.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then she is sticking it right in the fucking wound. But nevertheless, it helped.
Yeah.
And within a couple of shots, he was getting his strength back. If Joel doesn't have diarrhea, nausea, vomiting from the amoxicillin doses, I'd be surprised.
Yep.
Yeah, well, he's
Meanwhile,
Joel,
yeah. Meanwhile,
you mean? Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so meanwhile, now that Joel kills the guy, now Joel has to go out and go find Ellie. Ellie, meanwhile, wakes up in the cage, sees David, and he tells her that life with Joel is over, and now it's time that you join the group and become one of the followers. Cult. Little does David know that Joel is currently interrogating his followers to find out where David is. Joel tortures one of David's men until he points to where they are, and you better do the same as your buddy. Otherwise, you're both fucking dead.
A nice flashback to the
video American game.
To the Native American couple. I think it was episode 6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in episode 6, where they did the same tactic, but this time round it's a lot more menacing.
Yeah,
and Joel ain't fucking around, and I love it.
Yeah, you better point to the same spot your buddy points to, otherwise you're fucking dead.
I mean, I'm trying to feel like this was the part I was really uncomfortable with. I mean, it was supposed to be uncomfortable when he was talking to Ellie. And it's like, where is this conversation going? Because he's like going, oh, we're both the same, and we need to be partners. I'm like thinking,
oh, he's grooming her, isn't he?
Yep.
And I was like, ooh.
Yeah, Joel leaning his head into Ellie when she lays down with him. Yeah, that was a nice touching, heartwarming moment.
She was very, she laid with him, like a daughter with their father. But regarding David, he went full on groomer. I think it was, hold on, you're talking to her like she's like the same age as you.
Yeah,
and she isn't, and wanted to equal. I mean, she's 14 years old, for fuck's sake, and he looks like he's in his fucking 40s or 50s.
Yeah,
and then obviously he starts touching her hand and stuff like that, and then he realized, oh wow.
As said before, shit's gonna get real in this bitch. That's
the thing is that we've got to understand that, that in real life this guy would be on some sort of register somewhere, but unfortunately that register doesn't exist anymore. You know what I mean?
No offense, but there's a lot of people like him, in religion,
walking the street right now. Yep.
Within America, and they seem to get away with a lot. It's incredible, which is why they're constantly blaming trans people for everything, even though they've done nothing. It's usually these motherfuckers, these cult leaders, who take advantage of their power.
Yep.
They can bang an underage girl.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay, so basically what happens is after Joel does the interrogation. After getting the information, the guy that Joel kills one of the guys, and he's like, "Fuck you, man! He told you what you want." And Joel's like, "That's okay. I already know where he's at anyway." And then he just bludgeons this motherfucker with the pipe. And then
I like
Ellie, yeah.
So before you continue, I just want to quickly respond to this. You're also getting into the area of the US where polygamy is sanctioned
by the church.
I just want to say that I am totally fine with polygamy as long as it's consensual.
Yep.
If three people want to be in a trifecta relationship and they're all three of them are cool with it, then who are we? You know, especially if you go within the land of the free. I say that ironically because I don't think it is, but I say that ironically nevertheless. You know,
to quote Sean Wayans, even though we were free, we were still slaves in the mind. Yeah. Message.
Yeah. Like, but you still have stupid laws. I mean, the don't ask, don't tell law was in the military for a while in the land of the free. Interracial marriage only happened like back in the 60s, I believe, in the land of the free. You know, I mean, all of these things, you know, like gay marriage was only allowed recently in the land of the free. So, you know, I hate that term because it's not necessarily accurate. And regarding polygamy, I think polygamy should be okay if it's consensual within the land of the free as well.
All lands. We're getting into very heavy, like, you know, like I don't think The Last of Us is really anti-religious in a way. I think they're anti-power being misused because, like, Fedra, like for example, they're very anti-Fedra as well because
cult. Cult. Yeah, they're anti-cult.
Because like Fedra is the same way as well because like it uses its power, misuses its power a lot.
Okay, so Ellie is desperately trying to escape when she discovers a severed ear on the floor of the room she's in. I really tried to hint at this for you, but yes, David and his followers, knowingly or not, are cannibals. Yes, we've alluded to that. David finally admits to Ellie.
I mean, that's just the worst, isn't it?
Yep.
Pedo fucking cannibals.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is, Ellie calls it, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like,
and the fact is, he finally admits to Ellie that, we're eating people, but only a select few know that, because if everyone else found out, David would not be alive to see tomorrow. I promise you that right now.
But this is also where he finally explains that he's not a religious guy. Like, he mentioned that he found religion after the
world ended,
the outbreak. But the reality is he used religion. He never found it. He used it for his benefit. And he mentioned that, if anything, he is enamored with the cordyceps, which is what he talked about, you know what I mean, and how they operate. You know, he's more enamored with that. And so he was a grifter, con man, nonce, manipulator, cult leader, all of that. Right? He was like all the worst elements you could find in society. He was that. I mean, he was a school teacher as well. God knows what he was like as a teacher. Jesus Christ.
I could not imagine.
Yeah.
I could not imagine.
I mean, the thing is that I'm actually trying to imagine what a class would have been like with this fella. It must have been terrifying. Like, because like not just because like he's all the things he was saying, Sam, but like the way he speaks is kind of like terrifying. Like nobody probably would have behaved in that class. Like
well, he's a bit like, you know, to a degree. Remember Megan from Walking Dead? He's like a guy who is actually much happier in the apocalypse than because now he can get away with shit. Now he can do stuff that he probably wouldn't be allowed to do in the real world, you know, like be a nonce. And so so he's much more happier in this world than he would have been in his previous life. Just a couple of comments here. You're also getting into the area where
we read that one already.
That's what we're saying. Blessed to because they'll give you the blessing of the food, and it's like I was like the summit of that person, and I knew there was something. I just couldn't put my finger on it, and it's exactly what Francis said, that they left out certain parts of it. I was like,
okay. So all right, so basically, after he reveals all that shit, David, in an attempt to rationalize his actions to a teenager, teen is in the name, says he sees a lot of himself in Ellie. She is a leader, smart, loyal, and violent. David thinks that he's getting through to her and he thinks he's convincing her to stay with the group and lead alongside him. But when he holds and caresses her hand through the bars, she realizes his true vile intentions. She breaks his fucking finger and tries to take the keys off the belt, but she's unable to before he smashes her roughly against the bars. This is where she's like, okay, my name is Ellie. And tell him that Ellie is the little girl that broke your fucking finger. And that's the line of the episode for me, without a doubt. Easily the best moment in the entire episode for me.
That's what I'm saying. Bella Ramsey was so good in this episode.
I mean, the thing is that I feel sorry for that actor that he had to probably do that to Bella Ramsey. He's like, really? Do I have to do this? It's like,
yeah.
I don't feel sorry. He's acting, dude. I mean, the people
he did such a fucking job. Yeah, he did such a good job.
The people we have to more worry about stupid marks who get pissed off that someone like Wyatt Russell played John Walker? Was that his name? The other Captain America, and they got offended by that, and they were sending him death threats. I mean, people are so fucking stupid. Look, fortunately enough, we as a trio, as well as everyone else in our group, are smart enough to separate an acting performance from the real person. You know what I mean?
But this dude, he did such a good fucking job, man. Oh, props to this guy.
I'm going to say something now. I think he's for the best villain in the show so far.
Oh, yeah.
I include the Infected because nothing against Millie Lewinsky. She's a very talented actress, but I wasn't really afraid of her character. I'm not afraid of Marlene. Like, I know Marlene is going to be the big bad ultimately, and we will be talking about that next week. Spoiler for those of you that haven't played the video game yet, but if you haven't, why are you here? Okay.
Sorry, going on to performance. There is a movie starring Christopher Reeve, Superman himself, where he plays a pedophile. And it's a very, very disturbing movie because you're watching Superman, the actor who plays Superman, playing a pedophile. And I forgot the name of the film, but it's out there. It's out there somewhere. Maybe Daniel Vance will know what it is. So you can let us know.
Okay, so as Ellie continues to fight for her life, Joel makes his way through the snowstorm to find her, eventually finding Ellie's backpack in a storeroom where he also finds the dead horse. Just as Joel is making the grim discovery, David and James head to Ellie's cell to kill her. However, in the struggle to put her on the butchering table, Ellie bites David and tells him now that she's infected, and now he is too. And when David goes to check Ellie's arm, grabs a butcher's knife that puts right next down to Ellie. She kills James, video game Joel, runs out of the room, and David starts shooting at her. And I thought that was a fantastic touch, just like the video game. And now,
I was expecting after Troy Baker died, I genuinely thought at some point that Joel would come in to save the day. And I'm glad that didn't happen.
Glad he didn't. Yeah, I'm glad that he didn't do that. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you guys something as we get to the end of the episode, but okay. So now it's time for the showdown. Ellie tries to leave the steakhouse, but it's locked, so she waits for David to come out into the room as flames begin to engulf the restaurant. The frightening game of cat and mouse continues. Ellie grabs the knife from the kitchen and attacks David from behind. She stabs him, but he also gets in a good blow to the head when he roughly throws her to the ground. As David assesses the damage from the stab wound, Ellie crawls toward the butcher knife that fell during the struggle. David catches her in the act, kicking her and holding her down to halt her. While holding down and screaming and traumatized Ellie, he tells her that fighting is the part he likes the most, that there is no fear in love, and he reaches toward his pants to do, I'm just going to say things, I'm not going to go into it any more than that, are a clear sign that we know that this dude is a bastard. But Ellie is able to grab the butcher knife and stab his ass to death.
They'll hack him to pieces now. But look, my only issue with this scene is that the building's burning down. He's just been stabbed in the gut. As much as he might have a fancy to Ellie, what the fuck, man? You've been stabbed. The building's burning down. Now you're gonna fucking rape this kid? It's just. What the fuck? Just get out! It made no sense. For him to do that because you just wouldn't think that somebody would be able to perform if they've been stabbed in the fucking stomach. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying that anyway. You know, that was one of the things. That's one of the things that was on my mind. I'm trying to say it in the most sensible way possible.
Yeah.
You know?
So yep. But okay, basically, yeah, like she like just guts this dude to no end, and this is actually what I like. I like the fact that Joel did not save her this time. I like the fact that she was able to go to town and do what she needed to do. That's how I wish, like every week I say, well, every week I've been here, this show does something better than the video game did. And this is that scene for me in the episode that it did this better than the video game to me. How they handled David's stuff.
Have you seen the movie True Romance?
I think I did once. I need to go back and watch that one again.
I recommend watching that film again. There's a scene with James Gandolfini, who played Tony Soprano, and Patricia Arquette. She's he's there to kill her. He's already waiting for her at a place, and she arrives, and he toys with her. He fucks around with her. You know, he's like playing with his with his meat, so to speak, with as her, like, before he decides to kill her. But eventually, all this fucking around backfires on him, and she ends up killing him. And the sort of expression she gives when she kills him kind of reminded me of what Bella Ramsey's character Ellie was doing. Like, we just focused on her hacking this motherfucker. You know what I mean? Just constantly. It was such a great scene, and it felt very, very very deserved.
The thing is that, I mean, like, because like, before that scene, I mean, like, it was literally like watching a rape of a child. I mean, it literally was like watching that. I mean, like, because I mean, I was much more. I think maybe because it was a real person being done to, of a real actress being pinned down by a grown man. That kind of like, because that, I mean, because I'm trying to put it. I think it's because I have relatives that age that kind of brought that home to me, and I was kind of like upset me a lot. Trigger, sorry, I hate using the word trigger, but it kind of triggered me a little bit. But good seeing her do that, I was like, I was like, Jesus.
Yep.
Look. I've seen a lot of terrible scenes that kind of involve that. If you guys ever seen the movie Accused with Jodie Foster, you know what I mean. That is one of the scariest. I mean, I can't think of a film that has portrayed rape as good as that movie. You know what I mean? You know, and is that a movie?
Yes. Yeah.
I have not seen that.
It's got an infamous scene of that where it goes on and on and on.
Yeah. So so you know, I'm very happy in a way. I'm really happy that they didn't have to, like, they implied it quite heavily what sort of person he is, but it never really went there. It never truly went there, and it gave us just what we needed without going over the top. So I'm happy with how it portrayed itself.
Yeah, I like the fact that they did this scene the way they did it, and then I like what happened after the fact is, okay, yeah, she makes it out of the steakhouse where Joel finally catches up to her, and she's like, get the fuck off of me, and she's just shaken up, traumatized, and I think this is Bella Ramsey's, I'm going to go ahead and say it, thus far, this is the best performance I think she's done throughout the entire show. I really do. I think
she's been great. She's
been great. But this is it. This is her moment. Like, this was her breakout moment in this show.
Yeah,
to me.
I agree. I mean, the thing is that Pedro Pascal had one, and now she's had one.
Yep.
But I still think, and this is no slight on anybody else, that the actor playing the bad guy in this was.
He killed it.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. He should be up for, and I don't usually say this, he should be up for, like, supporting actor.
Oh yeah,
because when we're all here saying how terrifying he is, that shows you how.
When we're putting him over, but when we're putting this guy over as strong as we are, like, he did such a damn good job.
He did a good job, but to give him like best supporting role, I'm not so sure about that. One episode, dude. You need to have more.
If they would have built it through at least a 2-episode arc, maybe I'd give that to you, but. For this episode, he did such a damn good job.
He did a good job for one episode, but one episode doesn't deserve a best actor or best supporting actor nomination.
All I've got to say is Judi Dench in Shakespeare in Love was in less of the film than this guy was in this series.
There's still one role in one particular movie, like Hannibal Lecter. I mean, what's his face? Anthony Hopkins' role was really short in Silence of the Lambs. He also got a role, but that was just for one. I mean, even then, like this is like a 1 hour, less than an hour long. I don't know how many minutes he was on screen. I think it would be an injustice for him to get a nomination.
Yeah,
without having more screen time.
At the very least, they need to give this guy a shout out when Last of Us wins some awards. At the very least, they can do that because he did do a good job in his part. So at the very least, he at least deserves a shout out.
Look, I almost shed a tear the moment Joel and Ellie embraced.
Yep.
Because they truly became father and daughter at that moment.
It finally broke. The mold finally broke, and now it's like, yeah, he's accepting of her, and he's going to do anything he can to protect her. Like, you can see that now with Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. Like, the dynamic has finally been broken to where it's there. Now it's like you are like, okay, we've come full circle now.
Yeah, exactly. The hug, you know, calling her baby girl, giving her, even though he's the one wounded, you know, he gave her a coat to keep her warm, you know, all of that. And but once again, it's like wherever they go, they leave devastation behind.
Yep.
I mean, apart from episode 6, everywhere else they went, you know, like it is like what happened in episode 1, episode 2, episode 4.
Yep.
And 5. And this episode now.
And this is one of those shows where I can't wait for it to come out on Blu-ray because I'm buying it the day it does. It's just that good. It's just, man, I have to own it because even though it's on HBO, I actually want to own this show. Like, I want to get a physical copy of this show. That's how good it is. But let's go ahead and give our final ratings. Zam, I'll start with you.
This episode actually got better as it went along. It started off nice and slow, and it was like you wanted to believe that these people were good people because the last people you came across were good people. You know, it started a community and stuff like that. But there was something wrong about that gang of 4 initially, and if that gang of 4 was with those lot, then obviously that's not necessarily the case. Obviously, the actor who played David was very good, and he creepy vibes as he slowly came out of his shell to prove that he was nothing more than a con artist, cannibal nonce who wanted to control everyone and was power hungry. And had a sinister streak to him as well. You know, all the worst elements you could find in a human being. At the same time, he didn't look that menacing, so he kind of was able to disguise who he truly is. He was, you know, he came across as nicey.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of him backhanding that girl. I think that was a wrong play by the directors, and I think, you know, he could have backhanded her in private, not in public.
No, but I disagree with you. Sorry. You carry on. Sorry.
But okay. Yeah, I mean, I want to hear your disagreement, but overall, I'm going to give this episode an 8 out of 10. I thought it was excellent.
Okay.
Gary, what's your disagreement?
Okay, I think that it was a show of power because the thing is that because she was kind of undermining his control of everybody.
She was questioning him, and you can do that.
She was questioning his authority, and he needed to reaffirm it. So that's the reason he gave her a slap.
Good point. Yeah, good point. Fair enough.
I mean, I understand where you're coming from, Simon. I get it, but that's just where I mean, you feel free to disagree with me, but that's just where.
I agree. I agree with you.
I agree. Yeah.
But I think this was a really strong episode. I think that because usually sometimes the strong episodes are followed by not a strong episode. I thought this was an amazing episode. So I think I remember the part in the game, and I thought this was a better done version than in the game. Personally, just from my own personal point. So I'm going to scale this. Ooh, I was almost going to go a 10. I'm going to go a 9. Because I thought that there was a little bit of a pacing issue, maybe was a bit of pacing issues with it, but everything else was just phenomenally done. So, really well done.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 9. I think that honestly, this show, it's one of those where it's like, even with the filler episode that we got a while back, even that I didn't hate. I mean, honestly, I can't really say too much bad about this show. I mean, the only criticisms I think we can give it is the pacing can be a little bit off at times and it feels a little weird. But beyond that, that's probably my biggest criticism I can give it. I feel that, the dynamic between Joel and Ellie was the breakout moment in this episode. Bella Ramsey killed it. The guy that played David did a very good job. Troy Baker did fantastic. I mean, this is one of those shows where I really think we're going to be talking about it at the end of the year. When it comes time, it's going to really get strong consideration for show of the year. It's that good.
They missed a trick because Nolan North played
David
in the video games, and it would have been so cool to have two of the biggest, mocap actors in video games, in Troy Baker and Nolan North, play the two villains in this.
Yeah,
that would have been a very cool move, in my opinion.
Very meta.
Yeah, it's a shame that didn't pan out.
Yeah,
but, I'm actually going to change my mark. I'm going to give it a 9. After listening to you guys, I think it's worthy of that. It was a lot.
But let me ask a question though. But what would you guys do to make it a 10? I think I would just change the pacing up just a little bit.
Yeah, that's
make it a 10.
I personally actually agree with you. I think because I think there was too. Even though I like the scene, I think there's too much talking between James and Ellie initially. I think that was his name. Troy Baker could have hurried up and we could have got to the point a bit quicker, but that's the only thing I kind of would have changed pacing wise. I can't think of it. And I think there's some other filler scenes that I could think of that could have been cut, but that's the one that sticks out most in my mind. But I agree with you that there was a pacing issue.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's hard to say to make it a 10 because I don't want my episodes to be too short. Then everything feels to be too rushed.
Right.
I don't mind it being longer and dragging out and stuff like that. Maybe the odd zombie here or there would be a bit nice, so to speak. I can't. I mean, the episode itself has to make me feel like it's worthy of a 10, and I don't know. I mean, it's very hard for me to put it into words how I would change it. I genuinely don't know. Is but giving it a 9 is very good.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, a 9. Yeah, this is one of those episodes. Like maybe to make it a 10 for me, maybe a bloater would have killed David and ripped his head off. That's probably where I would have saved the bloater for. I think it would have been
I disagree. I totally disagree. I think this.
Or they could have done something where, the infected rip David apart. Like I would have liked to have seen David ripped apart, like in general, like whether it was a bloater or infected. No, I would have liked to have seen him just get ripped.
I'm happy. Ellie. I'm happy.
No,
Ellie.
I prefer
Ellie killed him. Yeah.
Ellie was the right person to kill him.
Yeah.
But for instance, like the steakhouse was on fire.
Yeah.
And nobody noticed.
Yeah, and that was a little unrealistic. Like that would have been cool to do another callback to all these infected versus the town. That's probably what I would have done to make it a 10. I would have said, okay. Yeah.
And also, as I said earlier, the guy after being stabbed in the gut and the building's on fire, he still wants to do the
deed. Yeah.
Yeah, on Ellie, that seems a bit stupid as well. As wrong as it is, it also seems stupid.
Yeah, so, but the thing is that you got to remember that, unfortunately, people when they're in lust don't the word think it doesn't.
No, I just think that he's got a whole. He's in charge of this whole community. He could. God, I'm trying to explaining this. Just makes me feel bad, but he could have taken her away. He could have made sure the rest of the village got that fire out. Even then, the village would be on his side. I mean, as much as he was desperate to get her, you've got to put that fire out, man. You know what I mean? That fire is the biggest concern, and and maybe subconsciously that's why he only gave it a 9 because elements like that.
Yeah, the pacing was a little off and it was a little unrealistic because you would think if a building is building down, like Jam said, your first instinct is to get the fuck out. That's what they always teach you from elementary school onward is get the fuck out. You don't just stay there.
Yeah. He just let the fire continue. Like, he didn't try to pull down the curtain or anything.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And the way that fire just encroached that whole building so quickly, you would have thought there was fucking gasoline on all the fucking wood. You know what I mean? So I burn wood a lot. You know, I barbecue and I smoke food all the time. It doesn't burn that fucking quickly. You know what I mean? It doesn't. You know, and those are big timber logs. You know, they got there. You know, as the frames, and they're making it just catch on fire just like that.
Yep. And here's the deal for next week's episode. Next week's episode is going to be the finale. It has to be a 10. They've got to finish strong. They've done a great job thus far. Let's bring it home, HBO. Let's get this done. Neil Druckmann and cast and crew. Well, let's get next week's episode to be a 10. That's all I want.
I don't know exactly what's going on next week, but I can tell you a couple of things without really being spoilerish. Like, it's no longer winter setting.
Yep.
And they've arrived at Salt Lake City.
Yep.
So I don't feel that next week will conclude everything. I do feel that we are going to be on cliffhanger territory.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Well, I this is where I hope that it diverges from the game, where like there is some arguability to like to the events, like it isn't as clear cut as it is in the game. Because the thing is, I want them to have them to still be like an ethical dilemma, but it's not as clear cut as it was in the game.
Yeah,
that's personally my point of view.
I'd like to see it be. I'd like to see a little bit of friction and dynamic going into the very, very end of the first season. Like, swear to me what you said was true, motherfucker. And then he's like, I swear. And then she's like, I don't believe you. Fuck off. I'd like to see that kind of thing happen.
This is where I want to see some deviation now.
Yep.
Because this episode there was so many elements which were exactly like the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like it becomes the polar opposite. Like some people get pissed off that directors or writers like to put their own spin and their own artistic vision of a game and make it their own way, and then people get pissed off by saying this doesn't represent the game. This represents the game so fucking much. It almost becomes spoilery because it is the game. You know, like,
it's the game without being the fucking game.
Yeah, and exactly, and in a way, like this, like sometimes you want the story to be a bit unique, but whilst representing elements of the game that is what makes The Last of Us, like some of the stealthiness, the infected, the sort of like apocalyptic looking landscape and stuff like that. But you don't have to have the game in every aspect as it is in the video. You have to have this television show in every aspect like it is in the video game.
Yeah, but
you've got to have some original.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think it has diverged enough from the video game to be its own unique thing. I think
this episode is exactly like the fucking game.
It is.
It's exactly like the game, apart from her maybe not killing the rabbit. You know what I mean? It was so much like the game. Like everything, like the way Joel was torturing the guys, the scene in the steakhouse, the scene when she was in the cage.
Yeah. The only thing that deviated was that Joel didn't save her when she was killing his ass, because that happens in the video game. Joel's like, stop, but he's like, she Mortal Kombated that motherfucker. That's what I like to see. Yeah.
When she held those two guys up at gunpoint and told one of them to go back to like the words and stuff like that. It was so much like the game that it like come on, like I respect you trying to be like the game in the sense,
but I like that they deviated enough from it at the same time too.
Like the story can still be a little bit original.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It can still be a little bit original without following every beat from the game. You know, like in that sense. So this is why I like stuff like The Boys and Invincible, because they are copying elements from the comic books and stuff like that, but it's trying to be its own thing.
Yep.
It still has, like Captain America Civil War. You know, that was not the same Civil War as it is in the comic books, but it was its own thing. If anything, the reason why the Marvel MCU has been great up to Endgame is because it still represented what was going on in the comics, but being its own fucking thing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that's what this show needs to do next season, in my opinion. It needs to be its own fucking thing.
Yep. Next season, just make it its own fucking thing. It doesn't have to follow the game.
But there's people like, I know, like for example, Jeremy Johns, who don't like the unique elements that have been added to this. Think that those are the weaker elements of this series. Now, I don't agree with that. I think that the stuff that they've added to
like what? Like what, to be precise?
Like he doesn't like, for example, I'm trying to think of something. He just says like he doesn't like the stuff that's been added. Like for example, he didn't like, for example, the Bill and whatever.
Bill and Frank dynamic.
Yeah, he didn't like the fact that
that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's what made the like the fact that it did not follow the game at all.
Yeah, that's what made it probably arguably the best episode of the series. I mean, when we look back, we're going to probably pick what like our favorite episodes were, and that's probably going to be consensus. Is that one?
And the thing with Jeremy Johns, he might not like it. He's in the minority on that one.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I don't know. I'm trying to think the.
Well, look, the cordyceps, like they're airborne in the game, but that would be stupid for this to have to wear fucking masks. They're sports. So the fact that it's not like that, but what they did is that, and actually, this is something that's bugged me. They made the cordyceps like some sort of like communication sort of viney thing where if you step on some cordyceps, it activates some sort of link and amongst all the cordyceps. And so the other zombies are able to be, like we saw that in episode 2.
Yeah, you could be in one place here and then set off a dozen clickers elsewhere.
But we've only seen that in episode 2.
Yep.
We're now in episode fucking 8, and that same trick has not been used again, which is a bit stupid in my opinion.
No, I agree. I disagree because the thing is, you'd learn your lesson for the first time you do it.
But they still haven't done it though.
It would be nice to see it one more time.
Yeah,
in this season. Maybe it happens in the last episode. Who knows? But it would still be nice to see it again. Yeah.
But okay,
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
It wasn't like they learned their lesson. Like they shot a fucking zombie and it landed on those cordyceps things on the ground.
Yep.
So anyway.
Yeah, 9 all around. Next week they got to bring it home. Make me get a 10. Let's get a 10. That's all I want. That's all I'm asking for. Finish strong.
I will say this, Jose. Sometimes, a lot of the times, the penultimate episode ends up being better than the last episode.
This episode, yeah.
And there are times where a show doesn't stick the landing. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. So, and I've heard through the grapevine is that it's a shorter episode next week as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that might ding it. That might ding it down to at least an 8 for me. Then it's got to get at least an 8. Yeah.
Because the final episode should be a bit longer.
I think it might be a good thing to do it short because the thing is, if as we all hope it's left ambiguous, then
it's going to be because
I don't want stuff to be rushed, Bossman.
Yeah,
I mean, and sometimes
it's going to be rushed. I'm saying it's going to be more and more chance for us to breathe and to be ambiguous because I think that they've done so much.
Did they say when season 2's coming? Have they said that yet?
Yeah, it's going to start next year.
Okay. End of this year, apparently.
Okay, so we got about a year before season 2 comes out. Okay.
So that means we won't get season 2 until maybe 2025. Because if they start shooting it.
Yeah, if they're going to start the year. Yeah, if that means they're going to start shooting it at the end of the year, we won't be getting it till probably late next year at the earliest, maybe 2025 at the latest, like you said.
A shoot like this, it's not all done in sets; it's all locations, and they have to do it. If they want that winter setting, authentic winter setting,
they got to wait till winter to do it. Yeah,
and now we're coming out of winter now as well, so. So that's all of these things play its part.
Okay, so it makes sense. Yeah, so Last of Us season 2 will probably be 2025. Wouldn't be surprised if it goes the same time, January to March, which is probably what I think they're going to do.
Apparently, they're going to start filming Mandalorian season 4 at the end of the year. So Pedro Pascal is going to have to balance 2 shows. Now, obviously, he's not. He just does the voice work until he takes his helmet off. He just does the voice work for the Mandalorian. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, they could probably in-home studio that if it's just voice roll shit.
Yeah,
but who knows?
I don't know. As I said, the thing is that I'm as you say. I mean, the thing is that I'm hoping against hope that they don't do the second game in the thing, because as we all number 2's story was crap.
The gameplay was great. The story was ass. So season 2, they have to deviate a little bit. I fucking hope that they do. I hope they don't follow it to a T like they did with this. It's like, leave Last of Us 1 the way we have it. Change things up for 2, please.
Yeah, I mean, you got Pedro Pascal. Do you really want to follow the game so much so that you have to kill him off?
In the first fucking episode or second episode? Because at the very least, that's how long he'll last, is maybe 2 episodes.
It might have him a flashback as well. Better, and if they do have a flashbacks and stuff like that, Bella Ramsey is going to be a year or 2 older. She's not going to look the same. She's she's going to be like 16, 17 years old. She's going to look a lot older.
Yeah,
I mean, she's going to look a lot more mature. So, those flashbacks are not going to look that convincing.
I mean, she's what 14 at the moment. So.
Yeah, and then it ages 5 years, so you got to make her look 5 years older. And I don't know if they're going to get that done within the next year and some change. It doesn't look that way. It doesn't always work that way.
So a year and a bit, she's probably going to be what?
Dude, she's older. She's older than that, man. She's 19 years old.
Yeah, Bella Ramsey in real life is 19, but they got to age her. They have to age Ellie 5 years for Last of Us Season 2. So that's going to be the thing. 14. No, she's 19.
Yeah, she's 19, dude. So she'll be. Oh my god, I feel so fucking old because because I remember her in Game of Thrones, man. You know what I mean? She looked like a
I'm actually starting to watch Game of Thrones now. I know I'm late on the train, but I'm actually starting like the first season. Man, so far I'm liking it.
The first series of Game of Thrones is ours.
Yeah, but I'm watching Game of Thrones just to find something to watch. I'm like, okay, so far I kind of like it.
Yeah, season 8 is the worst season.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Yeah. People have told me, they're like, stop after season 7 and you'll be all right. Just end it there.
Watch it all, but unfortunately, the main writers were gone because they wanted to do Star Wars. They never even ended up doing Star Wars. They ended up doing some other stuff instead. Yeah, they were onto a massive hit. Like HBO wanted 10 seasons.
Yeah, and they fucked it up.
And they fucked it up, and I have to say that House of the Dragon, which is the prequel series, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Okay, because I'll find it too and watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I recommend watching. I guess I recommend watching Game of Thrones first.
Okay.
And then jumping onto House of Dragon.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But that's really good. Like the spirit of Game of Thrones is back with that show. I'm very happy with it. So.
Okay, good. Anybody got anything to plug before I wrap this up?
Tomorrow I'll be talking about the latest episode of Quantum Leap, episode 14, I believe, and it will have Superman himself, Brandon Routh, in the episode. So
and on the 17th, my wrestling school will be running SWA will be running a wrestling event in Motherwell. If you're there, please go and support the boys.
Motherwell in Scotland, yeah. And on Wednesday, we'll be talking Mandalorian season 3, episode 2. More Pedro Pascal being the father of a child with superior abilities. And then on Thursday, we'll be going back to Star Trek and talking season 3, episode 4 of Picard. So yeah, and also we've got some fan films to do as well. We might do one live on Friday. I'm not 100% sure how we're going to do it, but if we do it live, we'll let you guys know about that as well, because one of our colleagues in the fan film world wants us to review one of their fan films. So it'll either be sorry, I'll rephrase myself. It's going to be interesting to see our opinions on that. So yeah, that's basically it.
Nice. All right, guys. Thank you guys for joining me. I am Dhosea. With me is Gary and Zamario, and we will see you guys next week for the finale of The Last of Us. Season 1. Thank you all for watching. Cheeto, was this the best episode ever? I'm watching it tonight. Well,
I gave it a 9 out of 10.
I gave it a 9 out
We
of
all
10.
gave it 9s.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I'll
all
give it a 9. So, yeah, so we'll see what you think. You'll probably give it a 3.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you guys later.